So, Neki, Worm, and I had been playing tabletop RPGs together since we were in the 6th grade. Usually I or Neki would GM, and Worm would always play, despite kind of really wanting to DM, but being too non-confrontational to get the spot consistently. Neki was kind of a power gamer, but one that was really not self-aware about it. He's very insecure in real life and has a tendency to use tabletops as an outlet. When he GM'd, he was almost always railroady. It didn't matter the system. He GM'd Hero System, Shadowrun, D&D 4th and 5th edition, and in all cases, he usually set up for us for a roller coaster of a story where we were passive observers or dirty work grunts to the important NPCs of the story. When he was a player though, he aggressively power gamed and would often treat it as a competition between him and whoever was GMing. Needless to say, we eventually stopped playing tabletops together because we figured that each campaign ending in a massive argument blow-up would eventually compromise our friendship, and it nearly did. This was the story of when the camel's back nearly caved in on itself. So Neki wanted to DM 5th edition in his custom setting. Oh goody, I thought, because the last time we played in this setting, we had to talk him out of banning every race other than dwarves, elves, and humans. He would later complain about how we were compromising his vision by not wanting to run a full party of human fighters. But Worm talked me into giving him the benefit of the doubt, and all three of us decided that we were going to have a bit of a gimmick party. I was going to play a light cleric, and Worm was going to play a vengeance paladin. Vengeance paladins tend to be pretty edgy in my experience, but Worm's a really good role player and managed to make it not as cringy. Everything was going alright during character creation until he started talking to us about backstories. Turns out, in this setting, to be a paladin or a cleric, you need to be born into nobility and spend your entire life training up to become an initiate, where we would then go through a bunch of trials and then be officially given the title of paladin or cleric. Effectively, what he had done was made it so that by playing a cleric or a paladin, your backstory was basically already provided. And he had more room to ban races because them not being one of the noble races, aka being an oppressed minority. The cleric and paladin branches of the church were then further split up into categories and sub-churches based on which god they worshipped. Funnily enough, his favorite one, totally not Sinch, had the most powerful warriors and were the scariest and the most feared and blah blah blah. So the story begins proper, and we're going through around investigating heresy and doing some cool stuff, and everything was going alright. It was going way smoother than any campaign in a while, until we get to the boss of the session. It was a demon who had a thing where he could spawn copies of himself and was way more powerful than us. There it is. There it is. This is always how he gets us into a railroad, by flinging a stupidly powerful enemy at us and having us be saved at the last minute. He wipes the floor with us, because of course he does, and then announces that he has plans for Worm. I decide, you know what, forget it. I'm going to stop this railroad, and I'm going to stare this plot hood right in the face and take it down. And so as he's speaking, I calmly say, I pull out my flintlock pistol and shoot him in the face. Worm looks slightly mortified and tells me not to do it. I start sort of backing off, and I'm like, well, okay, if this is like a bit, then no. Sure. Because I know how our group likes to plan specific character arcs with the DM outside the game. But Neki is already angry that I dared step out of line and starts yelling over Discord. No, roll to hit, you already committed. I roll an unmodified 19, with mods it was like 23 or something. It hits, and I do like 12 damage. His head gets knocked back, but he quickly snaps it back into place, to be menacing. And then Neki proceeds to go into lengthy detail about how I feel my soul leave my body as the demon literally just rips my soul out and eats it without me getting a save or anything. So he kills off my character. Fine. But then he stops the entire session to yell at me. OP, why are you such a jerk? Why did you have to ruin my story like that? What the what? Apparently, by me fighting back at a specific moment, it spiraled his entire story out of control because I needed to be alive in order for the demon's plans to work and advance the story. I then call him out and say that's dumb, and you just clearly threw an overpowered encounter at us to railroad us into a story. He then claims that he ran the numbers despite not seeing our character sheets until earlier that day, and apparently if we simply played more optimally, we would have won the encounter. Worm freaks out, yells at us for not being able to get along, and then leaves the Discord channel. I simply asked Necky if this was all worth the effort, and then left the Discord channel as well. I wasn't about to play with Necky again after he basically word for word threw the Who Killed Hannibal skit from the Eric Andre show, but unironically. So yeah, that was a complete mess. DMs need to be a bit more flexible. There's nothing worse than feeling like a side character in someone else's world. I think this should have been settled out of the game though, but what do you guys think he should have done?